Before we unveil the Chat Sports team power rankings, the 20-something supporting cast here at Chat Sports, all ranking their NFL teams, if you want us to do this every single Tuesday morning, then share today's video on social media. Disclaimer, I do not take responsibility if you do not like the rankings. Just pretend, and in some cases probably true, I had your team higher. At number 32, it is the New England Patriots, as, look, they're entering a rebuild. I understand why they're ranked lowly. Carolina, number 31, as they hope Dave Canales can fix Bryce Young and have promise in next year. This year, probably not going to be their year. The Giants, ranked number 30. Look, a lot of this comes down to the trust or lack thereof in Daniel Jones. There was no consensus 32nd ranked team, by the way. A couple different teams had votes for that last spot. The Raiders at number 29. I do wonder how much that bad preseason game against the Cowboys, where neither Gardner Minshew nor Aiden O'Connell looked that good, helped to contribute to these rankings. But remember, quarterbacks play a big role in the NFL, and Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are probably not it. Now, in theory, Carolina and New England have their franchise QB. Giants and Raiders, in theory, don't. Who will end up with the number 1 overall pick? This is your chance to be mean and pick that team in the comment section of today's show. Washington, number 28. Now, I would bet, as we do this as the season goes on, one of those Giants and Commanders teams probably rise up the rankings since they'll have chances to play each other and get some wins. Tennessee is number 27. I was actually a little bit higher on them. I'm a little bit more optimistic than I thought I was going to be on Tennessee with where we sit on the on the day of kickoff for the 2024 NFL campaign. I understand why the rest of the Chat Sports crew was lower on them, though. It is a regime change and a rebuild going on in Tennessee. I think Arizona could be a sleeper team. Actually kind of intrigued by them. I like a lot of their supporting cast coaching-wise. I think they're still a year away from being a true contender, but I do like the direction that they are building in. Denver, a lot of this rides on how good Bo Nix is going to be. I think he can execute what Sean Payton wants to do on offense. I do wonder how high the ceiling ends up being, though, for Bo Nix in Denver. Not made easier by the fact that they have to play in the AFC. AFC is going to be harder than the NFC. There will be, I think, a sneaky NFC team that ends up climbing beyond the, outside the top 20 where we have them right now and potentially into the top 15 as the season goes along. Now, it is Hopium season. Yeah, it's new year. Everyone's excited. Chance to do big-time things. Will your team make the playoffs? You can also mention your team at the pinned comment of today's video. Y for yes, N for no. We get to see the Sam Darnold experience, which I think actually could work in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson. He's made some other QBs not look better than what they are. I like Kevin O'Connell as a coach. I also don't believe in Sam Darnold. So I think there's a big range of outcomes for Minnesota at 24. And probably number 23 for the New Orleans Saints. They could win the division. Or this is the year that house of cards all comes crashing down with this older roster, a lot of core veteran players that just can't quite get it together, questionable quarterback play. They could win the division or even finish last. The Chargers at 22, I think roster-wise, this is probably a little bit high for them, but they have Justin Herbert. We'll see how healthy he ends up actually being. And they have Jim Harbaugh. Again, AFC West is not going to be the easiest division. You got to play the Chiefs twice, but there's wins there. Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos. I think all three teams think they can beat the other teams in that division. The Colts at 21, I think are a sleeper playoff team. Even I think this 24, 23, 22 range, etc., up into the top 15-ish, have real playoff aspirations. Indy, if they get good play out of Anthony Richardson, could certainly end up being the case. The Steelers at number 20. All they do is win 10 games. This is probably too low for them. I had them a little bit higher. But at some point, does that stop? And I think the Steelers' floor is probably a little bit higher than their ceiling. They can win 10 games again, win 9 games, be a playoff team. But are they going to be a real Super Bowl contender? I'm not so sure. Seattle was one of my favorite picks for, beyond the obvious ones, to make the playoffs after missing it last year. I like Mike McDonald. I'm actually fairly high on Geno Smith. I think he fits really well with what Ryan Grubb wants to do on offense. There's 3 really good receivers. I would not be surprised if Seattle was the 5th or 6th seed in the NFC. So I was higher on them than the rest of the Chat Sports crew. We'll see if I'm dumb or they are dumb. Tampa at number 18. They were the NFC South champion. That was, I'll tell you guys a story. I was in jock math in high school. I was not very good at math. I was in math with all the other not good math students and a bunch of the athletes. I was really good at jock math. Doesn't mean I was great at math, though. And maybe that's kind of what the NFC South is this year. You still get an A, though. Still make the playoffs. Bears, number 17. I am super excited to see Caleb Williams, who has a chance to put up the greatest Bears quarterback season in history because the bar is so low, which makes it fun for Chicago. I think the goal for the Bears, come week 17, week 18, be a playoff contender. Whether they make it or not, they should be in that conversation given the overall supporting cast. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the very best deals, the incredible deals, on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. They've got curated deals to help you find the best price even easier. I love their seat view. You can kind of take your phone, panoramic view, move it around, actually know where you're going to sit so you're not just relying on the map feature or the list feature for the seat. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. That is promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms do apply, but check the comment section, check the description of today's show. That link will be in the comment section and the description. It's gametime.co, promo code CHATSPORTS. I am ready to get hurt again by Jacksonville. A really bad end to the season. Tempered expectations, understandably so. I still think Trevor Lawrence is a really, really good quarterback. I hope the stuff around him plays well enough to help that shine through in more obvious fashion. And it's not just football film nerds who love what he's doing down to down and cut out the stupid mistakes, like you just can't put the ball on the ground so much. I do think Jacksonville can be a playoff team in the AFC. Atlanta, viewed as the NFC South favorite. New regime, Kirk Cousins there. I'm excited to see how it goes. And hopefully there's less fighting between the head coach and fantasy owners this upcoming season. The Rams at 14. I'm a little bit worried about the Ernest Jones, the fourth trade. Matthew Stafford's there for now. That's kind of it. Curious long-term status there. The Rams are still kind of retooling. I think they exceeded expectations last year. Let's see how they fare without Aaron Donald this season. The Jets at number 13. I was actually much, much higher on New York relative to the rest of the rankings here. But this 13-5 range was very muddled. There's a lot of disagreement and pretty tightly compacted rankings, so do keep that in mind. If everyone stays healthy, they can make a lot of noise. Quarterback goes down again. Well, we saw that unfolded last season. Now, if you want these weekly power rankings each week, up until we get to playoff time, then we'll kind of stop doing power rankings and do playoff picture videos. Hit that sub button. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. The Browns are at number 12. The supporting cast is good. The front office aggression is the way it should be. Is Deshaun Watson good enough? They're paying him a ton of money. He has not lived up remotely to expectations. We'll see how it goes this season. The Dolphins at number 11. I was a little bit higher on them as well. I think they're still super explosive. My issue with, frankly, my number 11 team, or I guess the number 11 team, and the team I had at 10, we'll get to in a second, they're kind of similar. I trust them a lot up until January. And then, for whatever reason, for different reasons, things don't go that well. That applies to Miami and to the Dallas Cowboys. The talent is still good in Dallas, but for an all-in season, they didn't do the things that would actually reflect being all-in. Pivotal year for Dallas coming up, especially for head coach Mike McCarthy. Number 9, the Buffalo Bills. I still believe in them because I believe in Josh Allen. I think the Matt Milano loss is kind of an underrated big deal for Buffalo. Kind of feels a little bit like a retooling, not a rebuilding or a reset, just a retooling season for Buffalo. Moving on from some bigger, older players, adding some young ones. I still think they will be in playoff contention, but maybe they're not the AFC East winner this year. Maybe that's Miami or even New York again. All right, Super Bowl prediction time. Who do you have winning this year's Super Bowl? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Green Bay's at number 8. Again, that 12, 13 to 5 spot, super compact. People had them in the top 5, top 6. Green Bay checks in at 8 in the consensus AP poll style rankings here at Chat Sports. Down the stretch, Jordan Love was a top 5 quarterback. It was also about a 10-game sample size. So was it a flash in the pan, or is that who he is? It would still feel very unfair if the Packers got another franchise borderline Hall of Fame QB. Number 7, the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, I think we all think they would have been a playoff team had Joe Burrow not gotten hurt last year. He should be healthy this season. The Bengals are the most obvious, missed the playoffs last year, making the playoffs this year pick. Philadelphia at number 6. The NFC's cursed means they should win the division, where teams don't repeat NFC's champions really ever. But there's a lot of change going on in Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni kind of feeling the heat a little bit. He brings in Kellen Moore, brings in Vic Fangio. Can they have answers against the blitz with Jalen Hurts? To be a big, big factor this season. I was a little surprised Houston came in at number 5. I had them much lower. I do get a little bit antsy about sample size. And it's a 1-year sample size for Houston. Now, I still had them top 10. Don't get me wrong. I think there's also this part too. Year 2 is often harder for a young QB because there's more film on you. Teams adjust to you. It's a different beast altogether. But I do think Houston is correct to harbor Super Bowl aspirations. Really, all those top 13 teams you just mentioned at least have them. How percentage-wise high it is debatable, but at least the fans can have that hope. The top 4 was a consensus, almost. Not quite every person, but it was a clear-cut top 4 with a big drop-off after that. About a 3-spot average. Sizable difference there. Lions at number 4. This be the year? Better chance than any with Ben Johnson back for at least one more season. The Ravens at number 3. They didn't actually do a ton in the offseason. They had some notable losses, some minor additions. Derrick Henry, probably not minor from a size perspective or impact perspective. A little bit more aggressive than, say, Dallas was, despite losing some key pieces. They seem like the second best AFC team. The Niners, the number 1 NFC team for San Francisco. Not quite unanimous, though, the number 1 Kansas City Chiefs. Would I have made them the unanimous number 1? Absolutely. I had zero doubts that's how I was going to vote. Not everybody did. For now, of everyone that voted, there was one person who did not have them number 1. I will spare that person the shame of picking the wrong number 1. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls. Chiefs should have been unanimous. I was outvoted. So before we go, grade our NFL power rankings. Remember, if you don't like it, it's not my fault. It was Petey, it was Mitch, it was Harrison, it was Jack, it was Tracy. It was not my fault. I was higher on your team. And if you like them, it's because of me. My voting made it happen. So grade the power rankings A, B, C, D, or F.